Okay, so everything in the world is made up of atoms, and those atoms are made up of protons, neutrons, and electrons. So the protons and the neutrons are held in the nucleus, which is tightly bound. And then the electrons orbit around the nucleus in the electron cloud, which is loosely bound. And so because it's loosely bound, those electrons can more freely move between the atoms. And since those electrons are just moving between the atoms, they're never actually being destroyed, the net charge is going to be the same. Since the net charge is the same, that's called the conservation of charge. Okay, so some materials are going to hold electrons tighter than other materials, and so those are like plastic, cloth, etc., and they're insulators. Others that are going to hold it loosely so the electrons can more freely move are conductors, and most metals are conductors. So in order to get the electrons to move between atoms, they need to be in contact with each other. And so a simple way to do that would be to rub things together, because when you're rubbing together, you're increasing the contact. So when you increase the contact, there's more electrons moving, and when there's more electrons moving, then the static charge is going to be greater. And that's all static electricity is. It's an imbalance between the positive and negative charges. So a neutral atom is going to have an equal number of protons and electrons, so an equal number of positive and negative charges. Now when the atoms move from one atom to another, or when the electrons move from one atom to another, that balance is going to be disrupted. So one atom is going to lose the electrons, so it's going to become less and less negative and more positive. The other atom is going to gain the electrons, so it's becoming more and more negative and less positive. So for example, if you take a balloon and you rub it against your hair, the electrons in your hair are going to move towards the balloon, and the balloon's going to become negatively charged. And when the balloon's negatively charged, since opposites attract, it can attract something positive or it can attract something neutral, because a neutral object is going to have positive and negative charges. So if you take the balloon, the negative balloon, and you attach it to a wall, or you put it on a wall, the wall is neutral. And so the positive charges in the wall are going to come forward and attract to the negative charge of the balloon, so the balloon's just going to sit there until it loses the electrons. Like when the electrons transfer or fall off, the attraction is going to be weaker and the balloon's going to fall. Same thing when you're wearing a hat. The electrons from your hair are going to be transferred into the hat. So when you take the hat off, all of those electrons that are gone from the hair have made the hair more and more positive. So since opposites attract and the same repel, the positive hair is going to repel each other, so it stands up and stands out because it's trying to get away from the other hair. So same thing if you have a balloon. Okay, so if you take a balloon and you rub it against your hair, your pants, or anything, then you're going to move the electrons from whatever you're rubbing against into the balloon, and the balloon becomes negatively charged. So if you take the balloon and you rub it on your shorts or your pants, then all the electrons from your pants are going to move into the balloon, and the balloon's going to become negatively charged. Okay, so the balloon has now been negatively charged to my pants, or from my pants. And so when you put it on the neutral wall, the positive charge from the wall will attract to the negative charge of the balloon. And that'll last until the attraction, the electrons from the balloon have transferred to the wall, and so the attraction has diminished. So now that the balloon is negatively charged, if I take it to the neutral Cheerio, it'll attract. So if the balloon continues to give electrons off to the Cheerio, and they both reach a level of negative charge, then they'll end up repelling each other, because while opposites attract, if it's the same, it's going to repel. So the negative balloon and the negative Cheerio will end up repelling each other. Static electricity, not shocking when you know the science behind it.